There is a tool that professional detailers have been quietly relying on for years, and it never appears in their videos. Not once. It does not show up in their sponsored posts. It does not get a mention in their product hauls or their garage tours. And the reason for that silence is not accidental. It is deliberate. Because this tool costs less than $2, it fits in a shirt pocket, and it does something that no brush, no foam pad, and no expensive detailing kit on the market can do as effectively. It is the cotton swab. The same object sitting in a box in your bathroom right now, and the story of why it works better than anything else for buttons and badges reveals something genuinely uncomfortable about the detailing industry and the way it sells itself. To understand why the cotton swab matters, it helps to understand the specific problem it solves, because that problem is one the detailing industry has largely chosen to ignore. Every product marketed for interior cleaning, every brush set, every microfiber cloth collection, every foam applicator is designed with flat surfaces in mind. Large, accessible areas that photograph well before and after a cleaning session, the kind of surfaces that make a satisfying content video. But the actual geography of a modern car interior is nothing like that. It is a landscape of recesses, ridges, engraved lettering, button gaps, trim panel seams, and ventilation channels, each one acting as a precision trap for dust, skin oil, and grime. The engineers who designed these interiors were solving problems related to ergonomics, safety, and manufacturing efficiency. The question of how those surfaces would eventually be cleaned was not part of the equation. The result is a structural cleaning problem that has existed in every car ever built, and that the detailing industry has never formally addressed with a dedicated product, because the solution already existed and it cost almost nothing. Detailers who discovered the cotton swab simply kept that discovery to themselves, and the economics of that decision make complete sense. A professional charging $200 for an interior detail is not incentivized to go on camera and explain that the secret behind their immaculate button surrounds is a $1.80 pack of pharmacy staples. The mystique around professional results depends, at least in part, on the assumption that those results require professional tools. What makes the cotton swab so effective at this specific task is not magic. It is geometry. The tip of a cotton swab is roughly 3 to 4 millimeters in diameter. The gap between a standard dashboard button and its surrounding trim panel is typically between 1 and 3 millimeters. This is not a coincidence that benefits the cotton swab. It is a dimensional match that every other cleaning tool fails to achieve. A detailing brush bristle is too thin to generate meaningful surface contact inside those gaps. A microfiber cloth is too thick to enter them at all. The cotton swab fits because it was designed to operate in similarly confined spaces in a completely different context, and that design translates with remarkable precision to the interior of a car. There is also a contamination story happening inside those button gaps that most car owners have never considered. Every button press deposits a microscopic layer of skin oil onto the surrounding trim surface. That oil is invisible at first. Over weeks and months it accumulates, becomes tacky, and begins capturing airborne dust particles. The result is a dark, slightly greasy ring that forms around the perimeter of every frequently pressed button in the car. It is most visible around start-stop buttons, window switches, and climate control knobs, the buttons that get touched dozens of times a day. This ring does not respond well to general wiping. A cloth large enough to generate friction on the surrounding panel cannot make contact with the recessed area where the contamination actually lives. The buildup simply remains untouched while the rest of the panel gets cleaned around it. The cotton swab reaches it, The cotton fibers, being naturally absorbent and soft, lift that greasy residue without scratching the surrounding plastic or the button surface itself. The confined tip applies pressure exactly where the contamination is concentrated rather than distributing it across a surface too large to be relevant. This is why, in the hands of a detailer who knows what they are doing, a pack of cotton swabs produces results on button surrounds that look genuinely different from what any other tool achieves. Not marginally better, categorically different, the kind of clean that makes a button look installed this morning rather than pressed 10,000 times over 4 years. The badge story is equally revealing and perhaps even more interesting because it exposes a specific way that standard detailing practice actively creates a problem rather than solving it. Chrome and painted badges on exterior surfaces face constant contamination from road grime, brake dust, rain deposits, and bird contamination. This is well understood. What is less discussed is the role that wax plays in the degradation of badge appearance over time. Every traditional wax application with a pad or cloth pushes product directly into the recessed areas between raised letters and the badge surface beneath them. That wax dries in those recesses and becomes a white, chalky deposit. Car owners who wax regularly often have badges that look worse than those of people who rarely wax at all, precisely because every wax session adds another layer to an existing deposit that nothing in their cleaning kit can remove. The cotton swab is the only common tool that fits inside those gaps and generates enough friction to break up dried wax residue without touching the surrounding paint surface in a way that risks marring. Professional detailers preparing a car for ceramic coating application know this well. The badge prep process, the part that determines whether the coating bonds cleanly to the recessed areas or traps contamination underneath it, relies heavily on cotton swabs doing work that no spray or cloth can accomplish. It is painstaking, time-consuming, and invisible in the final photographs. But the longevity and quality of the coating in those specific areas depends entirely on it having been done properly. Ventilation fins present a third category of the same fundamental problem. The horizontal and vertical slats of a car's air vents create a series of narrow channels that sit directly in the path of airflow from the HVAC system. Dust does not merely settle on the face of these fins, it travels into the channel itself, accumulates on both edges of each slat, and compresses over time against the housing where the fin connects to the vent body. A detailing brush addresses the visible face of the fins and nothing else. The channel, the edges, the housing connection points, these remain completely untouched by any brush on the market. They are accessible only by something narrow enough to travel the full depth of the vent channel, something in the 3 to 4 millimeter range, something shaped exactly like a cotton swab. What emerges from this picture is not really a story about a clever cleaning hack. It is a story about a systematic gap between the geometry of modern car interiors and the geometry of the tools the detailing industry sells to clean them. That gap has existed for as long as cars have had buttons and badges. It has been quietly filled by professionals using a tool that predates the detailing industry entirely. The silence around that tool is not an oversight. It is a commercial decision made by people who understand that revealing the simplest and most effective solution to a common problem is not compatible with selling the expensive alternative. The cotton swab will never appear in a sponsored detailing video. It will never headline a product launch or get its own Instagram reel with a dramatic before and after. It costs too little and it works too well for the industry to have any interest in promoting it. But in the gap between a button and its surrounding trim, in the recessed channels of a chrome badge letter, in the depth of a ventilation fin where no brush has ever reached, It does something that no other tool does, and that is exactly why the people who know about it have spent years making sure you did not find out.